First of all, congratulations to all of you on achieving this great milestone, your DeMatha diploma, and more specifically, the knowledge and values it represents. They are going to serve as incredible tools for you in the future. This DeMatha diploma will open doors and create opportunities for you for the rest of your life. In my line of work, I've seen firsthand the power of education, or the lack of education. It's not a coincidence that one of the main commonalities among criminal offenders, and victims, I might add, is a lack of even a basic education. As you already know, the education you receive at DeMatha is especially unique. What sets your DeMatha education apart from others is that along with the benefits and the opportunity, your education also bears a special responsibility. You are not merely a high school graduate, you're a DeMatha graduate. You've been entrusted with something very powerful, and you've been called upon to continue a great legacy as gentlemen and scholars. In order to fulfill this important calling, you will no doubt be challenged and tested on a daily basis as you go forward. There will be seemingly endless obstacles, possibly failures and frustrations on a daily basis, but courage, the courage that's been instilled in you here at DeMatha, will allow you to succeed in the end. It is this courage, the everyday courage, that will see you through. You know what? Most people know, most people in Washington, in the area know that when I was named the chief in Washington, that I was the first female chief ever to be named as the police chief here. One of only 2 women to lead a major city police department in the entire United States, and one of the youngest police chiefs in the entire country. But what most people don't know is how I got here and the unique challenges I faced along the way. It's ironic, but I got to give DeMatha credit for getting me where I am today. Now, I know there's many people scratching their head, wondering why I would say that I owe DeMatha credit for getting me where I am today. Clearly, I didn't go here. Let me explain. Although most of my life story has been published in every newspaper and magazine over the past 3 years, I'll skip the details, but I'll tell you I started out not in the best position. I grew up in a very poor neighborhood. My mother, a single mother with 3 children, secretary, working in Washington, D.C. We lived on welfare. I went to a public school. In fact, when I went to, I was good in school. I loved school. I was a straight A student, talented and gifted program from the 4th grade on. But when I was going to junior high school back in the 80s, kids from my neighborhood were bused into another neighborhood for school. And that's where my life began to change. I was bused to a neighborhood in Fairmont Heights, and each day, from the first day, when the kids on my bus got off that bus, we were promptly jumped by the neighborhood kids, who clearly didn't think we belonged there. This went on for about 2 years. I began to skip school, miss class, get into trouble. I went from a straight A student in a talented and gifted program to failing the 8th grade because of attendance, which is why I was so impressed with the 750-some days without a day off. But honestly, no child can learn in an environment where fear generates all day long in the school. So to bring the story to a close, by the age of 15, I had dropped out of school in the 9th grade. Dropped out of school with a 9th grade education. I found myself, a few years later, a single mother with a 9th grade education, standing in the line my mother was in. But the difference was, I knew that I did not want my son to face the education challenges that I faced. And I knew the value of education, albeit too late. So I made my mind up once my son was born that he was going to go to DeMatha. He was not going to go to the schools I went to. He was not going to go through what I went through. So for the next several years, every minute of every day, everything I did was to get my son to DeMatha. So over the next few years, I joined the Metropolitan Police Department, got my GED, joined the department. I joined the police department because they offered tuition reimbursement for me to go to college. So I started going to college, working as a police officer in the city back in 1990 when this city had 500 murders a year. I walked a footbeat in Southeast Washington, D.C. I worked evenings, I was in court all day, and on my days off, I went to school. I worked part-time as a waitress to save money to get my son in private school. By the time he reached the first grade, I had him in St. Ambrose. I worked my way through the ranks in the Metropolitan Police Department, taking every promotional exam that came along. I made sergeant with 4 years on the job. I made lieutenant with 6 years on the job, made captain in 8 years, was the youngest commander of the Major Narcotics Branch with 9 years on. I then started going to college because I knew that in order to get my son into DeMatha and then into college, I was going to need to have more resources to keep him going forward. So as I worked my way through the ranks over the course of 6 years, I obtained both a bachelor's and a master's degree from Johns Hopkins University. Proudest day of my life was putting my son in DeMatha. I started out a dropout in the 9th grade with a GED and a single mother, and I stand here today, the chief of police in the most powerful city in America, with 2 master's degrees. And I did that to get my son here, where you are. And if you don't value what your parents have done to get you here, I hope you think a little bit about that, because it's important. You know, I started my speech by talking to you about courage, not bravery courage, everyday courage, the kind that allows you to rise to the top in the face of sometimes overwhelming challenges. So I'll close with just a few thoughts. There are many people that simply go about their lives when tough times arise and seek the path of least resistance. They do only what is necessary to get by. Even when opportunities are presented, many people will let them pass by, often because they lack the courage to take risks and to challenge themselves to accomplish great things. But for you, those who have made it through DeMatha, that's not going to be the case. DeMatha has instilled in you what it takes to have that everyday courage and the faith that will see you through. You are DeMatha graduates. You know, when I became a police officer, I took an oath to do the right thing, to seek justice and fairness for everyone I encounter. Similar to that oath, you all have been entrusted to continue a legacy that began many years ago when a well-educated young man of a highly respected and well-off family was called upon during a time of war to help save his captured brethren. St. John DeMatha could have just gone about his own life, done what was easy, but instead he chose to follow his calling and dedicate his life to helping others. That's the legacy that's going to sustain you from this day forward. So I encourage you, as you leave here today, take every challenge that comes along, have confidence in yourself, challenge yourself, go forward, continue to do the great things that you've been doing to get you where you are. Above all, thank your parents, especially your mom, and enjoy and celebrate this wonderful day and your magnificent achievements. I am so proud of all of you. Congratulations, graduates.